Hey there, everybody, it's Wayne D. Welcome to the website. It's WayneD.com, and we're looking here at the winner of last week's European Tour event, Eric Van Rooyen. I've been watching this guy for a few months now and waiting for him to get up on the leaderboard so I could get a couple of his swings. And now that he's done that, I looked at him on YouTube also, found some nice swings. So let's take a look. This guy is sort of the prototype golfer of the millennium here. He's a big guy, well built. He's got great form and has made his swing quite efficient, as you'll see here. So even with his driver, so watch the length of this swing. That's such an advantage to be as big as he is. He's on European Tour, and the numbers aren't clear because I don't know what stones are. So, but suffice it to say that he's got the physical size. He's built a lot like the young man that I teach, who just graduated from Marquette, Austin Kenziorsky. Similar builds. They're just more big athletes playing golf these days, and the idea is that when you have that kind of power, why not make your swing a little more efficient, because you don't have to take it back as far to hit it 300 yards. So Van Rooyen's stats are very, very consistent. It's really surprising that his best stat actually is his putting, and that bodes that obviously bodes well for him. But he's between like 30th and 60th in every category on the European Tour. So he's just solid. And then he finally got a nice win last week. But he's been doing real well. I think he's going to hopefully make the President's Cup. Look at this. So we're going to look at a technique here that's pretty classic. This is a good camera angle. I think this is off of a TrackMan. So we see that takeaway motion, and you see it a lot these days. It's just slightly out. So the left arm, when that takeaway goes out away from the original shaft plane, like that. And granted, this is, when you look at it, it's just slightly under the belt buckle there. But it's going to come perfectly up parallel to the plane. That keeps the left arm out in front of the chest a little bit. So we're going to see a fairly wide progression here. So we started down here at 45, and now we're going up to 56. So that's that old tiger swing progression where he set up and his hands went out away from him. So he went up in his old swing. He went up 11 and then over to 1. So here Van Rooyen keeps going up a little bit, so he'll go up 5. So being as big as he is and his hands a little bit low at address, he's got a little height up there with his left arm. But you can see this is more Faldo-esque than Bubba Watson. You know, you look at some of these big guys, more like Thomas Peters. This is pretty classic. So we see we've seen this recently too, a little more forward in the backswing. So we're not exactly shoving the right hip into more flexion, although if you watch the right knee, it's retaining 100% of its flex, if not adding a fraction. So by the time he gets to the top, you see the right knee's stayed exactly where it is. The left knee is not out very far though, and that's a testament to his physical ability, because when you watch his pelvis right up in here, look at it, the belt buckle and the angle in the midsection. So what you're looking at is how much does the left side of that pelvis tilt out, and it never gets front of the box. And then look at the rotation there, very immediate. So we're going to see the left knee disappear at a classic point, right up where the left arm is parallel to the ground, if not sooner. And that just shows you some nice quick rotation. So check out now the hand path and the way the shaft moves. Hand path is perfectly out on the high line. See the shaft flatten. So how long does that flattening take? That flattening lasts about 6 inches before the shaft begins to steepen. Right there, you can see it. So now he's getting it back on plane. And again, this is where strength is such a factor. Keeping the left cheek back on the box line and keeping the right leg entirely inside of the box right here. This is not an easy thing to do. So given the lowness of the hands at address, you would expect him to come in a little bit higher, and he does. But again, at impact, that forehead is exactly where it started, albeit much lower. So there's the backswing lowering, and then again we can see in the downswing in transition another lowering, and then starts to elevate a little earlier than most, and only slightly. But look how beautifully the hips stay in the box. We've got real quiet classic footwork. So this is more of what I would call a modern swing. So here's a nice face-on view. You'll see in the corner here, video copyright by Michael Field. I want to thank Michael Field for posting these swings. So we give him some credit. This is a great shot. So now we can really get a good picture of what he's going to do. I think the camera angle is pretty perfect here. Looks like the ball is a little inside that left heel. Now watch the load. We've got a really significant right load with the upper trunk, and there's the lowering. So even though the right hip did not go back, that loss of height here has a lot to do with the rightward movement as he maintains and adds flex to his right leg. So he's going to have to recover a little bit of that load. And with the driver, if you watch this release, he's not getting over here very far, but his overall movement is pretty significant. So that's going to feel to him like he's moving laterally quite a bit. But watch where the head goes, and you can see why. If you get your hands like this with a driver, how in the world are you going to elevate the ball and hit it on the upswing? So he's probably hitting it even or -1 maybe. But the key here is look where his head is gone. So what he's done to compensate for that lead wrist flexion and that late release with the driver is additional spine tilt. So he's way back there. So this is how some of these guys are hitting the ball extra far. We saw that backup head movement in Charles Schwartzel. You'll see it a lot, especially when guys get that left wrist super bent like that. And then after he hits it in the follow through, it's just got tremendous upper back flexibility. to drive that right shoulder through and keep pushing the hips. And pushing and pushing. So that's a super athletic move. Now if you're thinking that this is a swing that might lead to some back problems, you know, as he's hitting it with his hips forward and his head back like that, there is some question of compression back in the discs. But he does release great through it, and by the time he finishes, he's not supporting a bent back. He's pretty much flat in the midsection there. So that's pretty cool. Here's an iron shot. Now this was a knockdown. It's like a driving iron, but you can see again, just beautiful. So here's something that I noticed that I thought was very interesting. If you see that one, let's go back to this one. I want you to watch, if we slow it down, I want you to watch what's going to happen right up in here. So this is for people who can't seem to clear fast enough. I want you to watch the movement in the insides of the legs. I think those are the adductors. So what you're going to see is an interesting movement here where the left knee is held. Now again, these are, you think about some of the old timers where that left leg would be way far away from where it is now. Heel wouldn't be on the ground, the knee would be way over here somewhere. But Van Rooyen's going to hold that because he's so flexible, I guess. He's got that trunk mobility. Now watch what happens when he starts forward so that he doesn't overslide. So look at that left leg movement there. So that is, if you do that, if you tried that yourself, what you would do is you would be sucking that in so that it feels like you were trying to stay, as the hips were pushing, as the pelvis was being pushed out of this right load. So the force of the push is going to go back this way against that brace. The right leg is going to drive. And again, this is pretty counter to anybody that's trying to get the right leg to hold and stay put there first in the downswing. I hardly ever see that. So as that right leg drives, look at the left leg. It's going to suck in so that it begins to rotate and turn. So that limits the amount of slide and allows him to stay back and move back enough to have that super late release and hit the driver on the upswing. So anyway, I love this guy's swing. And there it is, Erik Van Rooyen.